The adoption of the agenda.
Move.
Second.
Any discussions on that? Motion carries. Okay, and we do not have any delegations, so we'll get into minutes of the meeting. So we have the regular council minute meetings from the November 21st for approval.
Move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, carried. And we have the committee to hold meeting minutes for receipt from the November 28th
Move.
meeting.
Second.
Okay, and any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we don't have any committee reports. Unfinished business, we have the management report, and that's,
I'll move receipt.
okay, and seconder for that one?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Maureen, come on.
I'm resting.
That was so last year.
Okay, so,
Well, I'm going to wait till the new year. We'll
Yeah,
start
yeah,
up again.
okay, so we'll receive and file that one then. Then we have the Child Care Planning Committee. We do have a recommendation from our CAO on that one.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second. Okay, and any discussion on that?
I-
Councillor Bissinger.
Just wanted to clarify, like I spoke with one of the ladies that works at the, where the delegation was from, and she just clarified to me that they actually wanted a letter of support, like a letter
Right,
indicating, so I'm
okay.
not sure if we can give them this staff report or
Um,
whatnot, or if we need to type up an actual letter saying that we're happy to provide support and principle or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were doing, Richard. We were writing a letter, or we were going to...
We will be sending correspondence to them confirming that we support it.
Any other questions on
Well,
that?
I just had a question. It sounded like we're going to be assisting them in applying for the grant, yes?
I offered assistance in writing the grant and preparing it
Yeah,
to
so who
ensure
would
that.
actually do that?
I'm not sure yet.
With staff not here, so...
Somebody who's not here.
See, we got lots to choose from.
But one is
I can't blame Marvin.
and we're not taking the lead for this
No,
one, that's not what
no.
we're saying.
I'm not suggesting that we take it on. I'm just suggesting we try and do as much advance work as we can at this time to ensure that they don't miss the deadline and submit it.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
basically all.
It's just a tricky one, because obviously we support it. It's just-
Okay, and then I'm wondering, do we have a typo in the fourth one down, earmarking 2.85? What was it? Is that 2.85? What's the... Yeah. So there's purpose, background, the second paragraph under background.
There's 2.85 million.
Million, yeah, okay. See, I do read these things. Okay.
That's new.
Okay. All right, and let me just get back to this thing here. So we had all the discussion on that, and all in favor? And carried. Thank you. That's why Shelley just looked over at me, just to make sure I did that. Bylaws, and we have two bylaws for adoption. The first one is bylaw number 1904, and that's just the amendment to the Comox water rates.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Thank you very much. And that is carried. So then we have the Comox Council Remuneration Bylaw 1905 for
Move
adoption.
adoption.
Okay, seconder. Any discussion on that?
Discussion.
Yeah.
So this puts in place, just for clarity, 3A and B puts in place a proposed increase for council in perpetuity. Is that what it does? The remuneration is 50% of the percentage change in the CPI and 50% of the average percentage change in annual for any of the following or one of the following municipalities? Is that what it does? Is that an annual increase based on something?
Shelley wants to speak.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily an annual increase. This formula for determining council remuneration was established about 10 years ago from a market survey that was done by an independent consultant at the time. And what it does is it establishes council remuneration each year to change by an amount equal to 50% of the change in the CPI and 50% of the change from the average change from these other municipalities. So it does establish a change in remuneration. Has it increased every year? No.
But the process has been in place in this bylaw
Yes.
prior to?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
there's no change to that. The only change is the starting, if you want to call it the starting salary, from this year forward.
Sure. Yeah, no, just a few different people have been asking me if there was a process in place for remuneration of councillors, and I said, I think so, and I think this is what it is. So this is, which is a fair one.
Which we're not, and we're not going to be discussing increasing our salary
No.
over and above this. This is just that.
Yeah, I just wanted the definition of 3AFE, so that's
Yeah.
satisfying. Thanks.
And in fact, in my tax bracket, and maybe somebody else, other ones, I'll probably be taking a 10% loss because of my higher tax bracket, which this doesn't accommodate for, but I'm fine with that. It's just price of doing business. So any other discussion on that? Questions? All in favor? Okay, and that motion is carried unanimously. Okay, so now we are going on to new business, and we have a recommendation from our CAO with the Comox sewer user rates for 2019.
I'll move first, second, and third reading.
Okay,
Second.
second, do we have any discussion on that? Councilor
Got a few-
Bissinger?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. So, I guess just for the rates overall, I understand like the $30 for single-family residences. I guess one thing I struggle with is the self-contained residential units. So, for example, like carriage houses or suites within residence that we're charging the full amount for those. If we compare it to apartments, which are probably similar sizes as like basement suites or carriage houses, then the actual rate per month is basically half of that. So is there a way that we can either bump up the apartments to like $20 a month and then reduce the carriage house and the basement suites? Like maybe add a line? Like I get that like half duplexes should be the same as a single family residence, considering the number of bedrooms or whatever,
Right.
but basement suites are usually like bachelors, 1 or 2 bedrooms. And I think by bylaw, we can't have more than 40% of your house as a basement suite anyway,
Right.
right? So if we, I don't know if these rates are up for a discussion, if that's something we can look at. And usually residential apartments, it's more like a big landlord situation that uses the taxes as write-offs anyway, not to assume maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't know if there's a way to balance it
So
somehow.
our
if that's
CEO
something-
to the director of
Clive, is this something you're looking at having in place for early?
This rate increase for the water is just a flat.
We're on sewer.
I'm sorry, the sewer?
Yes.
The sewer,
Are you looking at having it in place for the beginning of 2019?
2019.
So our thought was that we would hold a special meeting of council next week to adopt.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, to answer Councillor Bissinger's question, is this something that we could undertake for next year? To review the rates in accordance with what you're asking?
Are you asking me or Clive, sorry?
I'm asking you, as we're, in order for this to come into effect, we're looking at having this bylaw adopted before year end.
Sure, yeah, I guess in the interest of time that way, and if we can actually look at it and come up with something that seems fair, I think that'd be awesome.
Okay?
For next year. And then I guess, I don't know, can I ask another question too?
So, sorry, now are we amending anything there, or we're just
No,
gonna?
I'm taking that as staff direction, that
Right.
we look at the rates for next year in terms of sewer for
Okay.
multifamily apartments, condos,
And
as well
basement
as,
suites, yeah.
yeah, and suites.
Okay. And sorry, Alex, you had another question?
Yeah, I was just, the whole question, I know like we've added the brew pubs, and I checked the bylaw, I guess 2016, it was the same rate for pubs and beverage rooms. I checked the Courtney, and they're quite a bit lower than that. Are we like, I'm just curious what that number comes from and why it's so much staggering than the cafes and restaurants. Like, we're basically 3.5 times what a cafe and restaurant pays for a pub or a beverage room. And I spoke to some brewers just to understand the whole concept of brewing, and it doesn't seem like they're actually producing that much more wastewater than, like, I get they clean their equipment and stuff,
Right,
but
yeah.
maybe from a, I don't know if there's a way, or I'm just questioning sort of how this $260 per month came upon, because it just seems a bit cost prohibitive from a business point of view, especially if we
yeah.
are, I don't want to affect the taxes, but at the same time, we are trying to encourage more lively
Right,
establishments
yeah,
in the town. So I don't know if, you know, paying $3,000 a year just for the sewage portion it seems a lot compared to a restaurant, for example, so.
Do we want to ask Clive to add anything?
I think that's something else we can undertake some research onto
Yeah.
why the rates are what they are.
I think that one of the rationales for that, if I go back in time enough, is that it wasn't to do with the making of beer or any of that, it was to do with the cooling systems, and they used to use water to cool their systems, so they just run the water day and night. And so we tried to make the rate a little bit higher to discourage that practice. Changing out the cooling systems was really expensive, so a lot of them would just run the water and just keep it running.
You know
The
what?
Lord Hotel
I
was
do
was
recall
one of
that.
those,
Yes,
right?
I do recall.
And they just run, and so to stop that practice, I think we bumped our rates up, but that may be part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that something like the pubs or brew pubs can present to the town at tax season, like if they don't use that equipment, then could they be considered a cafe and restaurant or something in between? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we can certainly look at it again once we come up with these other numbers.
Well, and keeping in mind that your taxes have to be paid, so if you take away from one, you've got to add it somewhere else to
Yeah.
make that all work, so you've
Yeah.
got to keep all that in mind too, so.
Should drink more beer than
Yeah, that
a
means,
brew pub.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so any,
This
Councillor,
is completely unrelated. I'm just getting bumped off Wi-Fi, so I'm having a hard time, which I don't normally have here. I can either read out someone else's or have someone try to figure out why the Wi-Fi isn't working.
you should have
Yeah,
it in your,
normally
you
it's-
should have it in your downloads, in your agenda.
It also is like stalling. I downloaded it like a bunch of times.
Use this.
Something's not working on this tonight.
Okay. Grammar.
Sorry.
Technology.
I just don't want to sit here the whole meeting and be trying to
No,
open it
we
like...
want you to participate fully, so.
Been frantically trying to open it.
Okay, so, do we have any more discussion on this? We will vote on it though. So we had motion, seconder, and discussion, all in favor. Okay, any opposed? Okay, you're in favor. Okay, thank you. And now we had the notice of motion from Councillor Swift regarding the dog park, and that is that staff be directed to prepare a report outlining possible locations and costs for creating a dog park and/or leash optional park. So, I guess we will
I'm waiting for
move
yours.
that.
Park at it.
Second, okay, yeah. All right, and any discussion on that?
When we do this, I'd just like to make sure that we keep in mind the Northeast Woods and look at either off-leash or leash optional part of that. My own mind thinks if you go down past the Public Works building, the upper portion of that might be an ideal spot to either do this with or in conjunction with this, and not to lose sight of that as we go.
Any other,
Well, my motivation is that I don't even own a dog, but I know many of our citizens do, and any of us that went door knocking, often it's more than one dog in a house. And as we're going to smaller lots in denser living, we need places for these animals to run around. Ideally, I'd like to see two areas: an area that's a trail area, and an area that is an open space where the dogs can run after balls or whatever, or socialize. And this came out of a really positive experience that I had in Victoria, where it was a very social place. There was a combination dog park and playground, and it was not even fenced, and it was wonderful. And I thought, why can't we do something like that? I think some of our park spaces are hunter-gatherer, and this is an opportunity. And I seem to have opened a bit of a can of worms.
Or a dog's breakfast.
And then, of course, we had that incident in the Northeast Woods, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding regarding Northeast Woods because people do regard it as an off-leash area when it isn't. And I just lived in Parkwood for 3 years, which is adjacent to Northeast Woods. I never saw a dog on a leash when walking through there, and I never had any problems. But I know there are people that are genuinely terrified of dogs, and especially on a trail area, you come around the corner and there's a big dog and so on. So anytime you have one of these things, I know there are considerations that I'm not aware of. So that's why I was directing, or hoping to direct it to staff, because they have a broader understanding of the challenges that we're faced with, and get a report back and costs. And then lastly, as I alluded to last week, I have spoken with an individual that is willing to assist either in kind or financially with creating a park somewhere. So here we have an opportunity, and I think we should make it work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
I think it seems from talking to people while campaigning, but also just in the last week since this has come up, there's been so many topics that have been controversial, whereas this one, it just seems like there's a large group of people that support it, and I myself am also not a dog owner, but just being out in the community and talking with people, it seems to be something that almost is non-controversial, because I've heard maybe 1 out of 100 comments be on the negative side. So it does seem like something that, instead of having to pick, is it this 50% of the community that wants it and this 40 that doesn't, it does seem to be something that a majority of the community is actually standing up for, which makes it easier for me to want to at least look into the report and the costs and the long term of it, because it's one of few things I've heard positive, so much more positive than a debate though. I haven't heard a lot of community debate. It's been pretty positive, which I think is a great reason to look into it.
Okay, good.
So being a dog owner, I'm totally in favor of it, because my dog would never be in a dog park because he'd get beat up. And so a lot of times we will encounter dogs on the trail, whether it's Brooklyn, Creek, or wherever. My dog's on a leash, and there's off-leash dogs. The pushback is going to come when the park is created, and everybody else has their dog off-leash where they normally have it off-leash. And how are we going to patrol that? We don't have, Bill would be pretty busy trying to enforce that bylaw. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm all in favor, and I think we won't see the residue of it until it's created.
And I guess that's my point with looking at in conjunction with the top end of the Northeast Woods, because if you go in there at any given time, there's 100 different people in there with dogs that are all off leash. If you create the dog park, all of a sudden it's shut that down up there, because now you've got your place to go, and I don't want to see that. So that's why I'd like to see it be in conjunction, and then hopefully we can. And you're still leaving a big portion of the Northeast Woods that way for just walking and on-leash dogs. So I'd like to work in conjunction.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor.
Further comment?
Well, I was just going to say, I think some of the comments on some of the letters have also opened some options, having certain times and so on. So I think there's lots of ways to look at this, and I'd be interested to see what the staff comes up with.
Okay, good, thank you. So, all in favor? Okay, so we will have staff look at that for us and give us some options, thank you. Now, Councillor Bissinger.
I'm going to step out.
I think,
conflict of interest.
yes.
I don't
Why
know.
is that one?
It's my property, that is my question.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is development variance permit 18-7, Councillor Bissinger's residence, so she is in a conflict of interest. And so we do have the recommendation from the planner. I understand there's going to be some discussion, Councillor.
Well, I would move the recommendation with the front yard setback being 1.2 meters as per the proposal. If you look in the, if you look in it, you'll see the proposal at 1.2 meters.
Okay.
Second.
You have second. Okay, so any discussion on that?
So this property, the front yard is deemed to be
The
Anderton?
The side yard, which, yeah, we would think it'd be the side yard. but yeah.
Yeah, like it's,
It looks
Why
like a
is-
side yard.
but why is that? Like where
It's
would
not-
that occur from?
Well, maybe the planner could kind of give us the Coles Note version of that.
Like it's obviously broad, but it's not.
They've orientated their house towards raw. So the bylaw sets setbacks, and a front yard setback is, in that zone, is 7.5 meters. So on a corner lot, you either have the short lot line, you have two lot lines abutting two different streets, a short one and a long one. If we took the 7.5 meters along the long lot line, a lot more of the property would be used up as front yard and taking it off of the Anderton. So that said, the bylaw sets up, defines front yard for the purpose of setting a setback. It does not stop a single-family property owner from orientating their house to a different location. So that's why a house can be facing, in this, an exterior side yard, which in this case is wrong, while the actual technical front yard is on Anderton.
I guess I'm slow because I don't understand, because the legal description of the property has it on raw. So does that mean that the front yard,
You're looking at me like I might not.
If the address is
Okay.
Anderton, it would be easier to
So,
understand.
yeah. Yeah.
It's challenging.
so the motion is to allow the sheds to stand?
Where they are right now, is that the 1.2
So there's
meters?
one shed, my understanding, she's going to build a second shed, and she's already put a pad in for it when she realized that she needed a variance to do that. So she talked to Marvin. Marvin's take was to move it 2.5 meters from the fence, or from the house or from the fence, I forget which.
From the lot line.
From the lot line. So what I'm saying is put it back at the 1.2 meters, so it's closer to the fence. There's no harm in foul if you drive by, you really can't tell the difference
Yeah.
from a drive-by. Yeah, so that's where it's coming from.
Okay, so.
But we need more discussion, we gotta make her sweat.
Yeah.
I think based on the.
Sorry, CAO.
Go ahead. Actually, Councilor Minions.
Okay, Councilor Minions, go ahead.
I think generally when the public would look at this, the public would perceive that to be the front yard, and when you do drive by, it is a zero distaste from what I can tell or see, and I live in that neighborhood.
So the public would look at it as the front yard or side yard?
Sorry, yeah, they would see how we see it, and we're a bit
As the
confused, but
side yard, yeah.
it appears to be
Yeah.
the side yard, I would say, to almost everybody looking, and with the fence that they have up, which is tasteful, you see the very edge of the top of a shed, and so just knowing that we're not looking at something that's encroaching on anyone else's property, and it's
All right,
a
and
determining factor for
CAO.
me.
Just to enable the motion made by Councilor Grant, just want to get clarification from Marvin. Is there any other changes we have to make?
Yes, so to affect that intent,
Yes.
what I'd recommend is two motions. One would be that Schedule 1 to the December 5th, 2018 Planning Report on DVP 1870 be amended to replace development variance permit conditions 1 and 2 with the following text. So the first one, construction of a maximum of 2 accessory buildings within the front yard in accordance with the drawings in attachment 2. It currently says in accordance with revised drawings. So that would allow, it would tie into what the applicant proposed. And 2, that this development variance permit is the very Comox zoning bylaw 1850, section 101.9.1, front setback shall not be less than 7.5 meters to front setback shall not be less than 7.5 meters for the principal buildings. Front setback shall not be less than 1.2 meters for a maximum of 2 accessory buildings.
Did you get
I
that,
hope
Sean?
you wrote all that down, Shelley.
I did.
Okay, good.
Okay, so-
See, clear as mud.
So there we are. So,
Oh, and sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And the second is, so essentially what you're doing is you're changing Schedule 1 conditions.
Yes.
Then the second motion would be the development variance permit DVP 1870 be issued subject to the development variance permit conditions listed in Schedule 1 to the December 5th, 2018 Planning Report on DVP 1870. So, because there's no longer any outstanding items.
I'm going to challenge the chair here. Since we've got a motion on the table already, can we just add this to that motion? Or do we have to vote that motion down and then bring this new one to light?
I think we can just add it. CAO?
So I move that we just add whatever Margaret just said to the motion.
Yeah, and they have the wording.
And maybe Shelley can read it back to us so we know.
So, and we'll second
Second.
that, and any other further discussion? Okay, so the question is, all in favor of those?
Well, do we want Shelley to just read it back?
Oh, sorry, Shelley.
Can Marvin, if I may, can we have a motion that would be summarized to affect the change that you are suggesting? Or you want the
That's as
exact
summarized as
wording?
it could, as it can be.
Okay, okay. And
So-
you have the,
So what Marvin has read out in the form of the two motions essentially does what Councillor
Yes.
Grant wanted to do with his motion.
Yeah, but I can't remember the wording, so are we good with that?
I think we're good with it, we voted to, when we...
And it'll be
we seconded
reflected, it'll be reflected in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so no further discussion. So the question is on first amendment. First
resolution.
First resolution.
Amend Schedule 1.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, and for the second one,
The second resolution is to issue DVP.
right. So, but we've already discussed that, so we'll just go into any further discussion. All in favor? And, well, that's good, thank you. So that is passed, carried. Right, Shelley? Motion carried. So, Councilor Bissinger comes back.
Well, we should really make it sweat.
There's a lot of laughs there.
Okay, thank you. Let's carry on to the last new business item, Comox Valley Water Committee assignment of weighted votes. We have a recommendation from the CAO, and
I'll make the recommendation.
all right. Second, any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, now that takes us down to correspondence. We've got a handful of correspondence. So the first item for receipt, Mary Klein regarding traffic issues on Balmoral Avenue.
Move receipt.
Okay. Seconder?
Second.
Okay, any discussions on that? Councillor,
What do we talk to the regional district and the integrated people that are over there? How do we address that as a town? Because it's not our buses, right?
no, they're running through the regional district as a service.
Yeah, there's a transit service there, and so I think you guys would send this to them, but we will discuss it when transit comes up next on this. We had some discussion on transit at the meeting, just from some of the changes that were made to transit in the summer,
Yeah.
and how it's worked essentially pretty good, but some of our residents have been kind of left out of service or really cut back, so it's not perfect yet, so this is another issue that we can
Right.
bring to them.
So you, as councillors representing us, the town of Comox on the regional district, you guys can bring this to them?
Well, and Shelley's
And Shelley does have
waving away.
a comment to make.
Yeah.
There's also a committee called the Transit Management Advisory Committee, which is comprised of BC Transit staff, the Watson and Nash, the transit company staff, as well as all participants, staff from Regional District, City, Port, and Town of Comox, Village, or Cumberland. At a staff level, we meet twice every second month to discuss issues, so I sit on that committee and I can bring this up at
Okay.
that
Good.
point as well.
And, okay, Councillor Bissinger, do you have anything to say? Councillor McKenna?
Just, we've had several notifications just since we've taken our office in on safety and travel and speed limits, and we've sent a motion to the staff to look at kind of this area of town, but is there a plan, and maybe staff can talk through, is there a plan to look at speed limits throughout the town, or is Is there something in the history that we may not know about, that there's already an integrated study happening
Well-
somewhere to look at that?
Yeah, we did have the traffic study done 2008,
2011.
2011, which has comments, recommendations, and so on in there. And I don't believe at that time that traffic speeds were an issue in the town.
No, they did collect data at the time. That study is slated for, I think, a minor update. I'm not sure if I think it may be next year, the year after, I'm not sure. Just to factor in the improvements that have been done and to update what still needs to be done. We also have a traffic calming policy that is, I believe, is part of the is it part of the policies we've shared with council?
Probably.
It may not,
Yes.
because, okay, and it identifies how issues such as this are dealt with. That might be another thing that you may be interested in reading. So there's those factors that we deal with, and other than that, no, we do not have an overall plan to review speed limits in the town. We basically have a speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour, that's the general speed limit, and then within school and park zones, 30 kilometers an hour.
And a few recommended slower areas.
Yes,
We're talking about
advisories for,
15 kilometers on that one.
And no, we don't own all the roads either.
Yeah.
We only own about, 90 kilometers or 80 kilometers of roads. So the rest
Okay.
are not our jurisdiction.
Good, thanks.
And issues that come up that have, say, a higher volume of concerns or complaints, we will put out traffic counters that monitor speed to see what the actual numbers are indicating, which covers vehicles crossing, what speeds they're crossing, what types of vehicles they're crossing. And so we also share that data when necessary.
Good, okay, nothing further, so on, you got
I
Councilor.
just have a question. I have a friend that lives in that building, and when you come out, it is hard because of the landscaping and the curve in the road. And when we had that flashing light up by, or the speed indicator at the corner of Balmoral and Stewart, it really helped. And I have spoken with Shelley, and she had said that we might consider getting another one for there, and I don't know where we're at with that. Do we?
She's away this week, so I can check with her
Okay.
next week. on that.
And I did talk to her recently about that, and she did say that they were planning on putting another one in that.
Yeah, it was very effective when it was there.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a blind corner.
Okay, good,
And
go ahead.
the developer that's doing the work there now, because they're putting in
Yeah.
I assume a sidewalk right to the golf course as part of their development? I'm not, I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, they're right beside the golf course.
Will there be adjustments of the crosswalk in that development? Like, it might make sense to move that crosswalk closer to the mall.
That may be, but that would not be a requirement on the developer. I think that we would be doing something like that.
And I would think that when we take those developments in and look at them, we look at how to advance the town
Right,
on that.
yeah,
Thank you.
good, okay, and Councilor
Can I ask a
Dixon.
stupid question? Who replies to these, like, who's gonna reply to this lady to tell her that we're gonna bring it up at the next meeting? Chuck, you'll do that? Okay.
No, sorry, the replies generally come from the mayor, it's drafted by staff.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Right, so, yeah.
So every time we get a letter like this, we can send a reply?
mhm, yeah. Good, okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Thank you. Carrying on, I guess Peter Bryce will just move receipt of
Move
this.
receipt.
Okay, and since we've already dealt with the issue, all in favor?
No, I'll move the next 5 because they're all off leash dog.
Yeah, okay, thank
So
you.
down to G.
So move those with a seconder, and we've discussed all that, all in favor? Good, thank you. Jean Ho, this is the affordable housing workshop. So for receipt.
I'll move receipt.
Okay.
Second.
Good, thank you. And so what my recommendation here is that we refer this to staff. They follow up with these folks and see how we can work together with them.
Just a comment on that is, would this not be a good thing for the regional district to take on? I mean, it is a regional.
It is a regional, yeah.
And rather than, if there's a cost for this, then we can share it with the other communities rather than us paying the bill.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah. Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, so when we get to the end report of today, Steph and I were at the Homeless Coalition today. And one of the things that we think would be a good thing for everybody is we all meet as a group. And having, I do know Chi Ying Ho personally because she's done some work, and she's done some work with the Homeless Coalition as well. And she's a pretty good knitter, so she can bring things together. If there was representation, and somehow I don't know how to do that, but if we can get representation from all the municipalities and the regional district to either form a committee or look at something where we can, really attack this problem from a Comox Valley perspective.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to make that motion, but it was something definitely we all had and we all saw was affordable housing as a crisis. So this is a great opportunity. They've done great work. She in particular has done great work for the organization and has a history in this area of helping.
All right, so if we just follow up with saying, move this, have staff talk with regional district, Councillor Grant, and see how they can come up with a more collaborative approach of all the municipalities in the regional district areas here. Okay, and any other further discussion? All in favor? Good, thank you.
And I'll move I, which is the pleased with new council.
Yes, so that's for the Facebook fans here, that's like a big thumbs up, or as Councilor Bishop said, a big heart there for you, so good. Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, the next one is the non-medical cannabis.
Move J for receipt.
Okay, seconder, and I did have a question actually for staff on this one. Have we heard of, is there anybody in the queue for Comox on this? So you do have...
We have received an application, yes.
Okay, good. For the mall area, is that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Good, well that's
But
good.
so far, there's just one,
We've had several inquiries,
Yeah.
and we have had one application that we'll be processing and will come into council's attention once it's complete.
Price is just one.
I mean, it's
I know there's big costs.
Yeah.
Do we know how long it takes, like, for a person to submit that to get to us? Do we have a rough idea? Is it a couple months?
Any idea, Martin?
How long, if somebody put an application into the province and then by the time it gets to the staff level here, would it be a few months?
Say they're probably running about a month and a half.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Because they do the pre-vetting, the province does the pre-vetting, and then we get notification, and then the person has to apply. In this case, there are requirements in our business licensing bylaw in terms of how they display their product.
Right.
And other items, so they're preparing those floor plans. That took about 4 weeks
Yeah.
now to prepare those floor plans and get them submitted.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Bissinger, sorry, you had a...
Sorry, we've got 3 locations in our zoning for
Yes.
cannabis, right?
Yeah. Okay, good. So, no further questions. All in favor? All right, that motion's carried. Now we're down to the UBCM call for resolutions.
I'll move that, receive that.
Okay, good. Any questions there?
Well, just keep in mind that if you do want resolutions to go to the conference, February 7th is the date. So if you think of something you want there.
Yeah.
Could someone just educate me on what you might suggest to UBCM as a resolution? Like, it kind of came in a little bit late for me to kind of even understand it, so.
Yeah, they're usually the kinds of things that would affect more than just your community. For instance, we brought one time about the gas tax and opening up the uses for the gas tax. So that turned out to be a real big boon for all of British Columbia, and that came from here. Other ones that they do, I'm just trying to think of derelict boats, for example, is another issue. It's more all-encompassing stuff.
Okay, so bigger scope,
Bigger
Affect
scope,
more than one
cannabis
community.
legalization was big years ago, right?
affordability of housing, could be something.
If you had something kind
Something
of
new.
more specific, rather than just, you don't just bring up the issue, but
No.
it'll be a written resolution that will get passed on to UBCM and then on to the province.
Like almost like a suggested plan, or is it, like, is it a motion, or is it a?
Well,
I'm
what
just
we've
trying to
done,
understand what you would bring on a grander scale to that group.
well, I think what we've done in the past, and Richard can help me out on this, is that we've kind of brought a bit of the plan and then staff works it into a proper resolution for us so that we get it so it actually has some meaning to it.
Councillor
Well, one of
Smith?
the resolutions that did come was the alteration of speed limits within town limits a few years ago to 30K, I think it was. So it's that kind of thing that communities
Yeah.
would consider.
Okay, and Councillor Bissinger?
Is something, not to be like super specific, but like regulation of Airbnbs, is that something that
Yep.
could be brought up in there? Like, is that something we have capacity to look at, or?
That's a topic that comes up at almost every conference you go to, and there's some really good info in there. It is the exact kind of stuff that would come up, although it's come up many times before already. So I think we could educate ourselves a little bit on what's already been done rather than bring one, but that's the kind of thing for sure.
Yeah. And the CEO, did you have a comment?
Using the affordable housing or Airbnb as topic examples, if you have an idea or possible resolution or thought that you might want to consider, if you bring that to us, we can do the research to see what has already been considered by UBCM, because they do have a database of resolutions under all kinds of topics. So the resolution that you might be thinking of may already have been considered by UBCM, and you may want to modify it somehow to take it different. So we can work with you on developing a proper resolution if you have something.
Yeah, and it's something along the lines of air quality. You know, you might have some concerns with that, and it's something that you could talk about, move that forward. That it would go to there. So, and you're getting Steve's good books over there. So, Councillor Minion.
Do we also have access to that type of UBCN database if it's something where we want to, you know?
I think you do. I think you can go on the UBCM website and search yourself.
Access what the resolutions
And if it doesn't go back far enough, then we would just make a call to staff and let them do the research on their list.
All right, and so any other questions for receipt? All in favor? Okay, so motion's carried. And then we have the congratulations from John Horgan.
Move to see.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Good. Thank you. So we
I just have a question overall around correspondence,
Okay,
if it's appropriate to ask at this time.
always appropriate.
So I know there's lots of correspondence that comes into us, that come in through our inboxes and stuff, and some of them, and we talked earlier, but some of them make the agenda and some of them don't. Could you explain that process just a little bit for us?
Yeah, so I'll sit with staff before the agenda comes out, and we'll talk about what's going to go on the agenda. I might have some questions that I want to look into, and so I'll ask that, for example, a delegation just be put into abeyance, and I'll go and do my research, and then we can have the people come back. If anybody is denied the ability to come as a delegation, they do have an appeal process that they can just submit to the town saying, I think I really would like that. 2/3 of us would vote on it, I believe, Shelley, and then they could come back. So at this time, no one is denied anything. We do put things on hold. Like some of the new folks here, I too am learning, and before we have somebody put up on the podium, I'd kind of like to have a little bit more information myself too. So, as I said, sitting here on our inaugural night, that I do want this council to be open, transparent. So, we have a certain sphere of influence, though, but it's not as broad as maybe some people think as well. So we need to kind of deal with what's important for the town of Comox. We go out from there. So, taking all that into account. Councillor Grant?
Well, I think back in the past, if you go way back, we used to get a lot of delegations, and they would come and really, a lot of times they weren't relevant to anything that we do, but once you've given them the audience, now they expect an action. There's no action we can give. So we try and keep, or at least in the past, we've tried to keep them relevant to what we do, so that we're not off doing things that just don't pertain to anything we do. So, we did tighten it up on that respect, and it's worked a lot better, I think.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is the agenda should kind of reflect the focus on the core role of council and mayor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. That's a good question, thank you.
So just a follow-up.
Yeah.
So the I think it was the Merville Water Guard. So they're free to reapply to come through the appeal process. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
Because you kind of, I think what their response was that not this meeting, but in the future they could come.
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that's what I had asked you to tell them.
Yeah.
We advised,
Yeah.
not at this time.
Yeah, not at this
and-
time, that was the word,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we did advise them of
Yeah.
the appeal process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, without peeling that one back, we'll wait until it comes to us. So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Councillor Swift.
I just had one other comment, and that was that, unlike Courtney, we don't have a grant and aid program. So often a delegation wants to come and they're wanting funding for something. And we, in the past, have tried to, avoid that because we don't have the funds to do it. So that's another one.
Well, and we don't like to pick and choose which charity, because it's not our money, right? It's our citizens' money, so I don't know what my neighbors would want to give their money to. So we really try and not go down those roads if we can.
Right. Okay.
The other thing too was, and I don't know if this is still the case, but it used to be that letters that were addressed to mayor and council would go on the agenda. So if someone wanted, like if it's a letter just addressed to you, maybe it's something just for you, but if it was addressed to the mayor and council, then it would come on and get onto the agenda that way.
Good. Okay. Thank you. So, finishing with correspondence, there's no late items other than you reading things here, but they weren't really late items.
Not part of the
Yeah.
agenda.
Okay. No delegations. Reports from members of council, the Coles Notes version. Councilor Grant, you just made eye contact with me, so you can go first. Remember, it just brought you back to being in school as a kid,
I
right?
think Ives used to ignore me all on purpose because he knew I would never be prepared. So I have time to write it all down, but I am this time. So I went to the tree light up. I went to the sewer commission yesterday, water commission yesterday. Those were basically orientation for the new people to really fill them in on what is in progress and what we're doing. There was also a committee of the whole meeting, and there was 3 in-camera meetings last night. So we started at 1 o'clock, got home at about 8. Went to the sports commission meeting. I also attended the water announcement regarding the $62.5 million in funding that we got for our new water filtration plan. We were asking for 55, and it sounds like we got more, but actually that included the KFN line that goes south down to Fannie Bay. So it's kind of a 2-part thing, but we got all the funding that we could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, I think it was 68 million altogether.
Yeah, it was 62.9.
62,
Yeah,
okay.
we were looking for 55 plus.
Yeah.
And we got the right number
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
And also, I mentioned earlier, I did bring up at the committee when we were there about the transit and some of the changes and the fact that some of our people have been left with fairly limited service, so that's been brought to their attention. And also, had a pretty good chat about getting our meetings televised or recorded at the regional district. It's always been a bit of a bugbear of mine that we don't do that. I think a much larger portion of money gets spent there than at any of the council tables, and people really don't see it happening. So we're on to that.
Yeah, good.
And that's what I did.
Okay. Councillor Bissinger.
Ditto what he said. Also attended the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Board meeting with Nicole last week.
Okay.
And I was also nominated on the Solid Waste Advanced Technology Committee within that, as well with Councillor Frisch. And and I'm seen as well. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's two different things I got nominated to. And then they're followed by an orientation session, and then as well with the CPD orientation.
Yeah. Good, thanks. Councillor Minion?
Very similar to Alex, we had the True Light Up, the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Board orientation and planning meeting, CBRD orientation, and
Good, okay. And Councillor McGowan?
I was at the tree lighting at the beginning, but my children went wonky, so. Running like maniacs. I was also at the water announcement, the inside doing shake sides, I can't remember if I mentioned last time the focus group with BC Healthy Communities. It was a forum on moderate drinking, and the local Immigrant Welcome Center Collaboratory. Went to the Coalition to End Homelessness meeting today, CBRD board introduction. I think that's it.
Okay.
There was a lot of things.
Yeah, good. And thank you, Councillor Swift.
Okay, the Philburg Strategic Planning, they're meeting about every 2 weeks to get this all sorted out, so they're really working hard. I went to a Watershed Advisory meeting. It's a group that meets about twice a year, and it's a collaboration among many partners. So it's an opportunity for me to learn more about the watershed and how it works and how everybody's working together. Regional district orientation. And then I left that partway through to go to the sewer open house where the Liquid Waste Management Program is putting on open houses for the public. And this was their second opportunity. And there was a larger crowd there this time, probably, I don't know, 20, 25 people, something like that. So that was interesting. Shake Sides tour, tree lighting, and then our marathon of meetings at the regional district yesterday, sewer, water, sports, committee of the whole, the regional district meeting. And actually, even though it was really long, it was good for me because this was new for me. So I'm still thinking at the end of it.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McKenna.
So similar to others, the CBRD orientation, the tree light up, which was great. I was also at the Homeless Coalition meeting for the Comox Valley, and a couple of unique things. I was out to the Cumberland Truck Parade on Saturday night.
Has it been here in Comox yet?
The interesting thing is the RCMP led it. So I don't, you remember the history of it where they shut it down because they led it this time. So it was pretty cool.
Okay.
And I don't know if they got to the rest of the community, but I think they've allowed the dump truck to drive around.
It did go through court.
It did?
I saw
Yeah,
Courtney.
so it's pretty impressive. There weren't a lot of vehicles, but it was really quite cool. A lot of kids there. Cumberland was bustling. Went to an ILO theater tour that's out there as well, just for that. I also attended the Community Justice Center, my first meeting, the AGM. So that was interesting, and met the new president, and I met the executive director, and they seem to have a very strong board, and the new representation was there, so that's very exciting to start there as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I just pointed, were you not also on the radio? CBC?
I was, you said like 2 or 3 things that I was at, I was like, oh yeah.
Right?
Just
I heard
very
you were
briefly.
interviewed on the radio. So congratulations. Because it was like women in politics.
Yeah, something like that. It's feeling very fluish when it happens, so
I miss
All right, thank you. So, yeah, like you folks, I did attend the Shake Sides. I had an iced tea meeting last Friday, and that's Island Coastal Economic Trust. Different applications go through there for grant funding and that, and it seems like an interesting group. Mayor, Chair Wells is now the vice chair of that group too. So he's loading up on all his credentials there. He's doing well. He's an active participant. The Christmas tree lighting, and also I'd like to also acknowledge David Kuhn, who's the owner of the mall, where he really worked hard with the BIA, allowing that portion of the mall to host the kids. I saw all of you there, and yeah, it was a good event, and thank you to the BIA as well. They did a good job, and to our staff here who, with Al Fraser and group in Public Works putting that whole tree thing together, so thank you. I attended the Christmas parade with Councillor Wells and Courtney on Sunday, and Councillor Bissinger was my chauffeur, which was kind of nice, and she did a good job. And then I was asked to go to a Cole Rob Road school. They were having a grade 6 urban planning class, so I went there the other day, and I tell you, it was really interesting to see what those kids had put together. And a couple things that struck me was the renewable energy that they're thinking of, and they realize that Comox is constrained in how we evolve, and that we can't really go out. And I think every one of the displays had, well, if you look at the scale, they'd have skyscrapers there, but they were all tall buildings, and they acknowledged the fact that the population is growing here, and that's one of the ways to accommodate people is by going up. So it was great. I attended the Sewage Commission meeting, the water announcement, the CV board intro. I think that was about it. I don't think my calendar can take too many more of these, shall I? So,
Time to start delegating.
yeah, and so now do we have any questions from the media?
I had a question about the recreational marijuana application. Is there a way to find out who or the company or individuals who are actually applying for the?
I would imagine it's public.
Sure, when it comes to council, you'll know.
Okay, so
I don't think it's quite ready for public dissemination as to the name of the company yet.
okay, that's the question.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, good. And any questions from the public, Steve?
So the parameters of the UBCM questions that they deal with, is that set by them, or is that a provincial standard of if someone wanted to bring an issue up and bring it to them? Is that something that would be set by the UBCM itself, or is it provincial?
I'm not sure who would have put the parameters, but it's up to the group here to hear that they would put a resolution forward to them. I got you thinking, didn't I, about the air quality stuff?
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a certain weighting that the UBCM committee will put on the various resolutions. There are some that would be considered emergency or emergent issues that they definitely want everyone at the conference to consider. And then there are some that they will deal as a secondary or the first line of business after emergency, and then there's kind of a batch that some will get to or they won't. So it just depends on, I guess, the nature of what's going on at the time.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right, nothing further. Motion to adjourn.
Well,
Second.
All